Your phone is going to shit out after the next update.
Yeah, I was like, fuck you.
Yeah, they're mine too, probably.
Saying too many words.
I'll just disappear. I just won't come back. I'll come back and be like, Apple's amazing. That's what would happen in China. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Creative Businessmen. On this episode, we have Ty Bru on with us. He's a hip-hop artist and a good friend of mine. He's also a filmmaker and just a really interesting dude. We had a great conversation. He shares some of his experience growing up in a small town, which we grew up in the same town. Also, he spent several years in China, which is super interesting. And it was a good episode. I think you guys will enjoy it. We did. Also, if you enjoy the show, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. And here you go. I think today things seem worse because we see everything, because we're so connected. We have cell phones. Everybody has a camera. So there's less violence in our society today than there was 20 years ago, but it just seems like more because we're aware of it.
And that's what always goes to the top of your feeds, what goes to the top of the Google search. That's everything,
Less marketable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to get people's attention by scaring them rather than putting them at ease.
Right. Yeah. Did it start with Reefer Madness?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's one of
geez, talk about the all-time swerves and gags right there. You know what I mean? The weed's bad; it'll make you evil. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's just putting people to sleep and chilling them the fuck out.
Right? Yeah. It's just propaganda.
You ever watch the Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox?
Yeah.
Where the dude that was like playing Miles Davis. Mm-hmm. He opens up the door and they're in there smoking weed, and he's like, "You don't want any part of this." It's just like, man.
You guys went to school together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we grew up together. I think we're in the same kindergarten class, weren't we?
Yeah.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
Same kindergarten class. Like I said, I was trying to catch up with some of the episodes. I saw that the 100th episode you were talking about Eric a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I mentioned Eric in that one.
Yeah. And I picture the Tabernacle Halls, and where they were set up and do their business and all this, and we were similar. I would have it wasn't quite like the blow pops yet, but it was similar to that, and that's what we would sell those to kids after lunch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they would have the pencils and erasers and stuff. So I saw that, and it brought me back. And then ironically, Tabernacle had asked me last Friday to go speak to their kids about on career day.
Oh,
so
cool.
I was actually able to go into the elementary school, and it was like a blast from the past, but it was confusing because I don't remember any of it.
Is it very different now?
I couldn't tell you really because I don't really remember anything except for the gym, very distinctive. I remember that. But I don't remember the hallways where the office used to be because they have added so much to it.
Just the smell hits me.
Yeah.
Because that smell doesn't change.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. They still use the same chemicals to clean. I bet. Yeah. I bet they bought like million gallons. Million gallons at one time that from the 80s is still there, and they just keep adding water into it.
Just keep cutting it down.
But Tabernacle is an old school too.
Yeah, my
grandmother went to that school.
I didn't know that. Just jumping into the gym was crazy because as a kid, it was so big. And now it's like, it's the
tiny
size of this,
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you'd run a basketball game. How we fit all those people in for graduation. I'm like, man.
Well, all those people, like how big was our class really?
Yeah.
And you were tiny people.
Yeah, thousands of people in my head when I'm a kid,
Yeah, everything seems massive.
So you guys, you started in kindergarten together, and then you moved out of country, right?
Well, I got held back in 7th grade, so that kind of, like I said, that kind of split. Like a year is a big difference.
It's huge for a kid.
So we hung out a little bit in 6th grade. But then after that, shit kind of went south with me. I was just crazy.
He was the kid who, like you, where he let the inner monologue guide him.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting.
He wasn't a bad kid though. He was just crazy.
Wild.
Like he was mischievous.
I was mischievous.
Like
I was wild.
Yeah.
I was very confused growing up. Who isn't? But confused growing up because we had just kind of moved into the country from the city, pretty much, when I went into kindergarten. And on top of that, my parents and my family had just moved from New York and Pennsylvania down to North Carolina the year my mother was pregnant. So, like, I was raised with this mentality that was so different, and then taken from the city of a small town to the country of a small town. It was just, I was confused. And the only way to really work with that is just use your inner monologue, man, and just try to guide it, not be a complete ass, but not be a complete just shut up and take it, you know. So I would use different methods and techniques to
middle school and high school are tough, man.
Yeah,
for most kids.
Yeah, it's so confusing as a it's the most away from everything you have ever known. You are up until that point. Yeah, everything's new, and people are crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was one of the crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I when I was that age, right around 7th, 8th grade, I was letting every thought that hit my head, I just thought that was what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And it was all wrong.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I had no idea.
Looking back, I mean, I made tons of mistakes. Thankfully, you know, I've been able to reconcile on a lot of those with a lot of folks, you know, moving back home out of the country, you know, just realizing, you know, the shit that you would do as a kid, and you're just a kid.
I remember when we were
we need a good anecdote.
We were probably like 8 maybe, or 8 or 9, maybe 10 even, and I had this mad scientist kit. And Tyler came over to the house, and this dude threw slime. Like, I had some glow-in-the-dark slime, and he threw that stuff all over the walls in my bedroom, and that shit glowed for years. I remember going back to visit my parents when I was in my 20s, and I just went back there and turned the lights off, and the walls still had glow-in-the-dark spots.
Nice. Hell yeah.
It was something else was guiding me. I have no idea.
I mean, it's a funny bit.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Solid bit.
I wasn't mad at you. My parents were.
Yeah, your parents were furious. I think that might have been the last time I was at your house, inside at least.
Maybe, yeah.
So how long were you in Asia altogether?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
And so you were going to school out there, and you said that earlier before we started recording.
Well, you were teaching, right?
Yeah, I ended up teaching at the end of it. So the first job that I got was, like I said, I was crunching numbers for a European company that imported from China. So I went right after graduation. I went to Europe and went to 5 or 6 countries. I can't remember at this point, and just pretty much went to these businesses, got the numbers for what they import, export, how much, the volume, things like this, and took it back to the companies in China. And then they were trying to figure out the best fit. So I was doing that, man, 20 hours a week.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. And then so I was like, I've got all this time, and you could pick up teaching jobs. Bam, bam. You could teach English. Bam, bam. Cost of living was low. Mm-hmm. The company that I was working for, everything was paid for. Meals, you know, room and board, everything was paid for.
Interesting.
So you don't really know the city. So I'm like, I'm going to start, you know, teaching kids on the side, like, so tutoring them. So it started one-on-one. And then I started doing schooling, you know, going to the schools and teaching classes. And it was really ironic, you know, I use this word again, ironic, but it was really eye-opening is the better term. Eye-opening because I was working for these people, and these people were bringing their kids to this school, and they would drop them off on a Sunday night, and they'd have these kids at this school all the way until Friday night. So they would only see their kids like one day.
Like a boarding school.
Yeah, pretty much. They'd only see their kids like one day, and I'd see how these people were on the job site. I'm like, fuck, I do not want to be like these people at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's far before I even think about having kids, but I'm like, this is not where my goal set is. So I just ended up resigning from that position and just started teaching full time.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I think about this kind of stuff a lot, especially with major corporations. Mm-hmm. That's what I talk about when a company reaches a certain size and it becomes public, and then it's no longer controlled by an individual or a small group of individuals. It's controlled by thousands of individuals. And it's a machine. It's designed to do a specific thing as efficiently as possible and to make as much money as it possibly can while it's doing it. And that's the importance of having regulations. But if you pay attention to that structure, that's what worries me here, is that our legislators who are supposed to be regulating these giant corporations are corrupted by the corporations. So they let them do whatever they want to do. And corporations on that scale are not really, they're not, I don't think of them as much as companies. Like, look at Apple.
Yeah.
And we think of Apple as this great company, like it's got a really nice face to it. It's a very prestigious corporation. But Apple has a lot of power. It's $1 trillion corporation. It's more like a nation state than a company.
Mm-hmm.
And it has no borders. It's global. And if you think Apple or any other large corporation like that really cares about individuals or their lives, just consider that Apple has slaves.
Yeah.
There are people in slavery. There are children in slavery that work for Apple and other corporations like Apple. And corporations don't have brains. There's no mind. It's a machine designed to do a specific thing. And even China understands that. That's why they make corporations be a part of the government, because they know if they don't, the corporation will overpower the government.
Right.
And which is happening here.
I didn't even find that out until it was too late, honestly.
Right.
I didn't think that I was working for the Chinese government until it was to a point where oh, shit.
But when you see people...
Your phone is going to shit out after the next update.
Yeah, I was like, fuck you.
Yeah, they're mine too, probably.
You're saying too many words.
I'll just disappear. I just won't come back. But Apple will be the sponsor. I'll come back and be like, Apple's amazing. That's what would happen in China.
Yeah.
Come in here next week, he's got a Google phone.
New number. Fuck it.
Yeah. But yeah, so these companies, and it's a thing in countries like China specifically, where they teach you that it's honorable to spend all your time working at this job for this company. But then at the end of your life, you have to reach a point where it's like, oh, I spent my whole life doing this thing that's kind of meaningless. If it's a manufacturing job, it's one thing if you're creating something, or it's something you're passionate about and you love it. And even then, I think you have to have a balance. But if you're just working on a production line, doing a mindless, purposeless job individually, there's no purpose for yourself. You're just a machine. You're a machine that hasn't been able to be replaced by a better machine.
This is a trick that industries have done throughout the history of time, right? It's like separate the workers from the means of production, so that you are enslaved for
right. And then you have people like what you're talking about. It's like, if I just had someone to put these damn kids so I get more work done.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the kids are your purpose, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you should work hard and be a good example, and you have to provide for your family, because we all should work hard for our society, because we all have to contribute, but you also need time with your family. That's why I feel like in this country, and I feel like globally, we could create a construct where if you're talking about entry-level jobs that really have no meaning or purpose, and people just have to, it's things that have to be done that, if somebody's like putting things on a conveyor belt all day, there's no purpose to that. You're not using your mind. You're a machine. And
that needs to be replaced with another machine, so your
mind, better machine, right?
A actual machine.
Yes, but if
that you can expand your mind to something else.
But if you're a person that has to do that job, you shouldn't have to do it more than 20 hours a week. And then we could subsidize that person's life through society, and hopefully encourage them to find something they're really good at and be better, and also, have the means to have a family and support that family, but also spend time with that family and loved ones, and just build a better society, a healthy society.
I remember you mentioning that to me, and it stuck with me. The subsidizing after 20 hours. I mean, that's a fucking piece of a puzzle that would unlock it all.
Yeah, and people wouldn't stay. Most people wouldn't stay in that position, because they would find other things they're better at, and they would actually contribute more to society.
Right.
So that company that works directly for Apple, they do some of their manufacturing or something. they said since they've got this lockdown, they would let them stay in operation if the employees all stayed at the factory.
Oh, yeah.
So they trapped the employees in the factory for like over a month.
Yeah.
And finally, the people started losing their minds, and they started busting through the barricades and stuff, like jumping the gates.
Right.
And trying to escape, and they're all protesting outside. And it's
Are
just,
these Chinese citizens?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's crazy that they're Chinese workers. And it's just like, what do you expect? You know,
I
like
don't want to
they're
make it sound too bad
humans.
because I'm trying to do that to Seth. I'm trying to get him to stay.
Well, that's different. You know, we're authoritarian here. So.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys know what's best for me. So, I mean, like, it's,
absolutely.
You know, it's patriarchal,
And stop talking, Seth.
No eye contact. When you were over in Asia, were you finding your creativity, your passion for art and music and all that already when you went over there, or was it something that struck there, or when you got back?
My whole photography and videography struck there.
Okay.
It struck hard there because when I do something, I usually try to do it to the maximum. Mm-hmm. So when I mentioned going to Europe to work for this company, I was on the phone and on Skype and things like this trying to set up a tour for my music at the same time because I knew I would work during the day and I could do my music at night. So I was doing some really good shows on tour. At the same time, Nas was in Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. I was the after party, and it was fun. It was a wonderful time. Like, everything that I did there was good. I opened up, did a show with Justin Timberlake, Andre 3000 in Milan, Italy.
So you worked with Method Man?
I've done shows with Method Man and Redman.
It's wild, man.
Yeah. It's
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I've got to see my,
and you were a big fan of them.
And I'm big. Yeah, I've got to see my idols in Europe. Though, like, I go back and I'm like, shit, I have no evidence, number one, that any of this shit happened. But I have no pictures of me on a microphone for my portfolio. Like, I have no pictures, no videos.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've got to do something different. So when I moved to China, I was like, I got to get a camera. You know, and then that's kind of struck me to be like, I need to take pictures of everything that I see. Yeah, because document it. I might forget it. This is beautiful, you know, all this stuff. So that struck me as like, I need to get this done, because usually when you get back home or you're trying to bring your press kit to somebody, you've got to have visuals. And I didn't have that, but I had so many opportunities to have that. And it just broke my heart that I didn't. So, like, ever since then, I always had a camera with me, and doing things like that. So it was very abstract with my photography at first. And then with the videography, I was very amateur while I was overseas. I didn't get to a point where I thought I was okay or good until I moved back home.
I mean, that's how it goes with everything, right?
Yeah.
It's, you gotta suffer through the bad. You got to hate it so that you want to get better, right?
I think you and I were in the same film festival.
A few of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think because I know I was a finalist. My screenplay was a finalist in a couple festivals that you were a finalist in, or maybe one.
Yeah, I think I can't remember which one. There was a time that I was in the film festival circuit really hard.
Yeah, it was probably 2018, maybe.
Okay, it might have been the psychedelic.
Or maybe you won one that I was a finalist in the year before or something.
I would drive up to some of the ones that were in Pennsylvania, New York, things like this.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which one, because I remember us talking about it, but right now I don't remember which one it was. But I would drive up to some of them, and they were fun. They were like little, coffee houses sometimes, or sometimes they were big auditoriums. But the Oaxaca one was like, it changed everything for me. It was the first time I was like, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to this film festival, because I saw the progress in their film festival. And I said, look, this is an opportunity for me to learn from some really, really, really great people.
Right, and get connections.
Networking,
yeah.
And the networking was impeccable. This was October of 2019, and everything was so set into motion. Was a semifinalist in this they would end up putting my stuff in noir because it was black and white.
It looks, I can see that.
So I was fine with that.
It's kind of like a horror noir, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very unpolished, It's very abstract, and it's always silent.
Yeah.
But it's got my music that I compose in the background.
Yeah.
The reason it's silent is because I've been around the world and been to all these countries, and the one thing, that's what I said at Tabernacle when I was at Career Day. I said, look, what do you think of when you think of art? And people were like, painting, sculpture, painting, pictures, painting. And somebody finally said music. Okay, painting. But what kind of art does everybody love? Everybody in this world loves this part of art, and nobody could do it. I said, what do you like to watch with your family? What do you like to watch? And a film. Film is something we all love.
Yeah, I'd say film and music are probably the two biggest.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And there's both in film.
Right, exactly. But there's always a barrier when it comes to language.
Yeah, what's visual? Film is really a visual art.
Yeah, so that's why I always take not always. This one, when I do stuff for me as an artist, I strip it down to the music and the visuals, so you can tell your own story and make it abstract as possible, vague. So those visuals can tell you your own story. Like, what does this tell you?
Yeah, well, that's it's interesting because I always say that my ideas are not my own, but our ideas belong to all of us.
Right.
And as an artist, we're constantly taking in information, taking in ideas from each other. And as an artist, you're trying to express those ideas, and you may be doing it in a way that means something to you, but it's also expressing other people's ideas too, and it means something to them. So, like when you see a musician or a singer, and they're singing this beautiful song, and it resonates with all of us because it is all of our ideas. They're expressing all of these things that we all think about, and we all can relate to and understand and feel. And so it's like they're expressing our ideas for us.
Right.
And so it makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, and it eliminates like confusion.
Yeah.
It really does, because that's the whole thing. Like,
and it could mean something different to me than it does to you or Eric.
And it should.
Yeah.
Art should.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Unless I'm point blank telling you exactly what this is, like music, lyrics, this is how, even then you can take those lyrics and decipher how you want to feel. How you feel about them. And that's, and that should be not our job to say, no, that's not how I felt.
Right.
That's my job to tell me and my personal, my wife, my son, well, this is how I wrote it and this is what I meant. But not to say, no, you didn't get what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I want to see what somebody else thinks about it.
Yeah.
Because
it's always different.
Because it'll reveal something to you about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what the biggest thing is we all have influences when we do art.
Right.
So the biggest thing is when somebody, I would rather not get anything that I'm trying to do, but if they say, oh, this reminds me of a Rob Zombie film, and I'm like, I'd rather you. That's what I'm going for. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. That's right. That's the goal. Or this song reminds me of a Kanye, or your movements remind me of a Kanye. Well, it doesn't matter what the song that you felt like. It does matter, but it doesn't. I'd rather you tell me this because I'm doing. That's what I want to do. Yeah. I want you to make you feel like you just watched something similar to a Rob Zombie film, or you just heard something similar to Kanye,
or you're getting something out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and because that's the goal. Is I'm trying to shoot for those type of stars.
You got anything that you're in the middle of?
Yeah, a lot. So we're expecting our second child in September, and I have put the gas on. I know we're talking about going 3 times the speed of normal. So I released the album last year.
What's the name of it?
It's called Triple Bypass Under Anesthesia. And the reason it's called Triple Bypass, my whole discography it follows the theme of heart. From the heart, from the heart's core. The very first album that I dropped was called On the Brink. It was in 2007. Before then, it was On the Brink, D-A.
Yeah.
So that was real hip-hop, and it was real cool and real fresh at the time. But that was something that was supposed to be released in 2005. But after that is when I was in China and really finding your artist's heart.
Yeah.
Finding that heart is very important symbolically. Heart is very important for your health. It's, if that stops, everything stops.
You have neurons in your heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where that's the core of your energy, your chi, everything is there. So everything that I've done involves the heart. So on the brink, people were thinking about it was on the brink of success. Well, when it was on the brink, it was that. That's what I originally thought. But beforehand, after that, I started thinking like this needs to be more thought out. I need to think out the next steps. Because that's how they were in hip hop at that time. The big phrase was hip hop is dead. Mm-hmm. And there was such a big friction between hip hop artists. They were either West Coast, they were East Coast, they were down South, and down South didn't really get recognition. They weren't even considered rap, yada, yada, yada. So hip hop was dead at that point. And so that's when I started incorporating heart. So it was like on the brink of heart failure. So this was like bracing up for an event that might need to take everything that I have to get to another point. So the second album was called Hardcore Hip Hop because it was like the only thing that's going to survive is hardcore hip hop, pure hip hop, things like this. So I'm like, it's not hardcore hip hop, it's hardcore. That's what's going to survive. That's what people want to hear. They might want to go to a party and hear these things about this and that, but the substance is what people want for the long run.
It is getting more that way in the last few years, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking before we started recording, there are different conversations that are being had now that weren't being had before, and you do see more musicians, more artists, more hip-hop artists that are talking more about personal struggles and mental things, which is, I think, important.
It's super duper important.
Yeah.
Mental health is something that got swept under the rug for so long.
Forever.
And we're hearing about it so much now. So hopefully that we can kind of overcome that. Mm-hmm. But the struggles and the things that are that, and being vulnerable as an artist, that's what your art is there for, is to, that is what my art is there for, is to show the people therapeutic for yourself, mm-hmm. is to show the people your struggles so that they can kind of relate to it, mm-hmm. or they don't relate to it. It doesn't matter. But if some song can kind of hit you and be like, hey, I understand this, let me get to the next step of my life.
That's how, showing a real expression of your growth is the quickest way to help someone else find the way that they need to grow as well. Yeah.
100%. So the hardcore really started showing the people me. It was like a road. It was a road down my life. Mm. Then the next one was called the first triple bypass. So this is kind of like a segments of a series. So my third album was called Triple Bypass in the Ambulance, and that was just getting that hardcore out. Mm-hmm. Like it was like I was rageful. A lot of people on the tracks with me to get their stuff out, and it was like, okay, here it is. You've had your heart failure. Let's get you in this ambulance and get you fixed. But since that record dropped in 2011, it was 10 years before I did the next Triple Bypass because several things. Mm-hmm. In China, 5 years, got married, come back and moved back home, had a child, and then COVID hit, and I've had these works that I've been working on for so long. And then I just said, I'm put everything on pause. I need to focus on this part of Triple Bypass, which was called Under Anesthesia. And that was when you're in what Neil said about death. You're right there. Mm-hmm. You're right there at it. And you feel so at one with yourself. Because there's a song off the record called 4 Times, and it's 4 times that I've almost been killed. Different areas, different things in my life. And it wasn't till the second time, it was the second time that I really felt what Neil was saying. It's my time.
Yeah.
If it goes, I'm at peace with it. Not necessarily my ducks are in a row. So that whole record was about like what you would go through near death and life experiences. So it's very meticulous how I did that record. And with 4 Times, the biggest thing that I remember was the time I got off the plane in London. It was that whole trip I mentioned earlier. Got off the plane in London, got on the train of the Underground, and I was going to the hotel. This was the first stop in the 10 or 6 cities, 10 places that I needed to be. Got on the Underground, had my backpacks and everything ready. Train stops. I see this big ass ball of smoke coming through. SWAT team type of thing for Britain comes out, tells us to leave. I just grab my bag and leave. Ended up what happened was the London bombings.
Oh wow!
It was it was the London bombings happened like I think 4 weeks before that. They were trying the second attack. The second attack was on maybe 4. I need to get more familiar with the whole thing because I just was familiar with where I was at the time.
Yeah.
They planted 4 bombs, I think. We had to double check this around the city. Only one of them went off. The rest of them just kind of fizzled out. And I was on the train that one of them fizzled out. I grabbed my bags and just ran up that flight of stairs and just walked through a city of London that was like Resident Evil. People didn't know what was going on. Places were closed. It was 2004 or 2005, so there's no real big cell phone conglomerates that you can just pick up a phone. So like I just went, and as soon as I found a pub, like there was a pub that was open, I went in there and started watching the news, and I saw that it was like, this was happening right now. It was on the subway train that I was on.
Wow.
And I was like, why was I feeling so peaceful while this shit was happening? It wasn't so in your face as what you're talking about, but that came later. That came in February of last year in the snow, driving around thinking I was invincible, going from a DJ's party to home, just feeling fine, going fast because I was in Boone for several years thinking that I could handle the snow, but I was in my wife's car, spun around, and I just let it go. The car hit this guardrail, wrapped around a tree, and I just let my body go limp because I knew both times, hey, if this happens, this happens, and I'm at peace with it. So I made those records for those. That's the it's in the sandwich of the records. Is that one song called 4 Times, and it kind of goes through all that process of where you would be admitted to a hospital, and then what you might feel as you're going under, what your flash of lights, like the beautiful struggle or the beautiful fight is what I'm talking about with what you might see when you're going through, which is my wife, my son, and myself. And then
you wrote that song for your wife?
Yeah, my wife, my son, and myself. So it's kind of like there's 3 verses because in a hip hop song you got your regular hip hop songs are 3 verses long. That's the bread and butter. Now it's going more to 2. So like I wanted to make an authentic hip hop song with 3 verses. So the first one was to myself, the second was to my wife, and the third verse is for my son. Did a video when we went to West Jefferson. It was beautiful, but it was things that you might, say to somebody.
What's the best way for people to find these, to find your music in general?
Just the best way is just to type in that Ty Bru, Tybru, Google it, and it's easy. It's an easy fix. I do have Linktree and things like this.
Gotcha.
But that's the best way.
We'll post some links in the description.
Yeah. We'll put your
June 11th, the next triple bypass comes out. It's called Extraction. It goes from under anesthesia to extraction, where you're getting everything. They're getting that gunk out of your heart. So that's an 11-track album. Comes out the 11th. Also the same date as I do fashion design. Haven't really said anything about that. I design these cool-ass shoes that you see here.
Those are awesome.
And I do a lot of women's clothing. So
and it's all your photography too, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing is I take pieces of my photography, put it on clothing, and boom, bam. It's eye-opening, catchy. all this. We did the first official fashion show was Small Business Saturday in November. It was a big hit, so we're doing it again on the 11th. Cool. So the 11th, we're like, we're doing this. Let's make it an album release brunch. Everybody likes brunch these days, so we're doing a brunch, getting some shrimp and grits, some quiche, some different kind of breakfast salsa, things like this. Mimosas, beer mimosas, stuff like that. All a free event in Asheboro at the Exchange, June 11th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I've got a month-long show at the Randolph Arts Guild in July, which is going to showcase. I'm still working on what's going to be there, but I've got the whole gallery for my art. So I'm thinking about I know I'm going to put dresses in there, photos in there, lyrics in there, music for people to hear. And I'm thinking about bringing like a little old school type of cart TV, have people put in the DVDs and just sit there if they want to watch my catalog of music or videos. And then August, we're doing another month-long show at a Illumina wine and beer bar in Asheboro, and that's going to focus on my photography for the Eastern experience while I was in China, like very cool. Different things that we're doing there. And then hopefully September 2nd comes and we have this baby and everything is good. October 1st, the Fall Festival, I'm going to perform there. I'll be the first one on there. And then I might be taking a hiatus from a lot of stuff for a while and just try to make money online.
There you go.
But rewind, June 25th, the Flatiron again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. June 25th, the Flatiron again.
Cool.
And we're going to try to push the deluxe version of Triple Bypass Extraction, which will have 5 more songs on it with more featured heavy ending.
And just so people know, this in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So we went there a few months ago. I love what they're doing with the new venue.
Yeah, it looks great in there. They're doing some great stuff.
I'll pop in. I'm gonna go check you out over there.
Please do, man. We'll have a good time. June 25th. It starts probably about 9:00. You know, we're pushing. Going over 40, so we're trying to get out. We're out of there at 12 o'clock. We're able to get home and have some fun. So that was the only stipulation for when me and my business partner Eddie Ruger got back involved with shows. Is we got to make it to where we can get the hell out of there and go home.
It's wild, right? Like 10 years ago when I was doing shows, I didn't give a fuck, man. Let's stay up for 3 days. Now I'm like, man, this thing's got to be done by 11:15.
Yeah.
I got shows to watch.
Yeah, shows to watch, and just like sometimes, man, your body ain't recuperating enough time, man. 1,000,000%. We're not Wolverine, man.
Yeah, right.
But thank you guys, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I love you, Neil, man, for real. You mean a lot to me and my family, and I appreciate you, and it's good to meet the rest of the family. We'll meet Daniel one day.
Yeah. I hate he couldn't be in, man.
Hey, well, we're gonna bring Ruger in here, and we're gonna do a brown bag version of it. So
we'll definitely have you back on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we didn't touch on a bunch of the stuff I wanted to talk about. So
yeah,
it's good, man.
It's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah,
and hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Hell yeah. Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Solid as a rock like I was a Chevy builder. Silverado, hip hop to my death be my motto. You the Queen City like the NC Lotto. Half the shit I spit you won't get until tomorrow. Like an overnight postal. I so just